What is up, guys? My name, of course, is Carlo, and once again, you're watching Film It VFX Studios and part 2, or episode 2 of my film gear bundle, basically. Over the next few episodes, I'm going to be taking you through some of the gear I've got and some of the gear that I use for filmmaking, or should I say, all the gear I use for filmmaking. And on the final episode, we'll be compiling that into a complete rig system. So once again, I do apologise about the noise in the background. It's something I can't avoid, obviously. You can hear Sophie in the background barking her head off. She's a little guard dog. I do apologise about that. So previous video we looked at audio, and today we are looking at sliders. So sliders, yeah, pretty essential to a filmmaker's arsenal, I would say. It's not necessary, but obviously if you want to achieve that push-pull effect to your production, it's always sort of necessary to have a slider. So as you can probably see just about in frame here, I have my 120 centimeter slider. It's if I just lift it up here, I don't know if you're going to see the whole thing here. It is one of the larger sliders out there on the market, so it's 120 centimeters. So pretty humongous. And what I did, guys, is I bought this ball head mount for it as well. So I will explain why I got this ball mount for this slider, and basically what I use it for. So obviously, without insulting your intelligence, obviously I'm going to use it to get that perfect sort of pan effect, or that slide effect from left to right, or push-pull effect backwards and forwards. But I find that I don't use this a lot, but when I do need it, obviously it's there. And it is amazing to get some really nice shots of various items, shall I say, if you're doing like videos on product videos, so on and so on. It's nice to sort of get that sort of sliding effect that you see that's achieved, shall I say, in a lot of YouTube videos. So this one here, I got this ball slider, so I'm just going to screw this on. And the only reason why I got this is because when I started using this slider, you generally you need one of these ball heads. If you're going to go out and buy a slider by itself, if you're just going to mount the camera to this plate here, it's not going to be any good, because when you do, the forward pan, you're going to still see the slider in the shot, unless you, well, there's no way around it, because the camera can't tilt up, the camera can't tilt down. With this ball head, it gives me flexibility to move this ball head and tilt it, as you can see in the shot there, wherever I want. So when I do operate the slider, and I do use a slider, and I'm sort of pushing forward, like in this shot here, I'm not going to see the rails of the slider. It also gives it a hell of a lot more dimension as well. Not only that, what I do like to do is I like to use the ball head, this slider in various sort of different angles. Now a lot of people sort of think, you've got to lay this thing down on the table like so, and not even got enough space for it. You put your camera on the slider itself, shall I say, and that's it. You just do your smooth sort of dolly movements. But I've found that experimenting with these things is absolutely insanely cool. So what I like to do is mount the camera. So I'll put it on like that, and then I can mount the camera sort of at an upward sort of angle like this. So if I sort of lock this in place, I do apologise about Sophie. I'm going to kick her in her dog minge in a minute, guys. Do apologise about that. So if I lock this in place, I have created, if I mount this correctly, if I mount this correctly to something, I've created myself a sliding, a different angle of slide, shall I say. Yeah. So so for instance, if I put it up, I can mount the camera on the top of that, shall I say, and then I could just literally untighten this and just basically slide like that if it's mounted correctly. I hope this is making sense for you guys. Or I can mount it sort of like a standing position, so I could fasten this to something, for instance, and have the camera sort of sat on top there. I've not tightened it yet. So the camera will be sat on there, and then I could do sort of like a slide down effect. So sort of like a pan up and down effect as well with that. So they are necessary, but I wouldn't say essential, because these days you can buy some excellent you know, gimbals and stabilisation rigs as well. So obviously, you know, it's entirely up to you if you want to sort of go for a slider. I went for this 120 centimeters only because I wanted to have a lot more slide room. I was going to just get a small one, but they're great for travel purposes and sort of little sliding shots on and so on. But if you're sort of like filming someone or doing a shot, for instance, in front of a sofa where there's a lot of people on the sofa, I want to sort of pan across, or pan sort of across the sofa. I don't want to sort of run out of space, if that makes sense. So that's the slider. Now I will put a link in the description below where you can pick each of these products up. They're amazing, and I have used this product or this slider in quite a few videos of mine. I will be implementing it into the short film that we're going to be doing, coming to the end of the series of this. So for the guys that have not watched the audio video, my gear audio video in the previous video, I recommend you check that out so you can sort of get a gist of where we're going with this episode and this series and what we're sort of building up to. So yeah, that's my slider. 120 centimeters. You can obviously get them 60 centimeters, a hell of a lot shorter. Now I just thought that this is going to be a lot more better to get a lot more distance in my slide, if that makes sense. And yeah, I've used it about 5 or 6 times. I haven't used it a lot because I do use gimbals. I use a rolling gimbal, and I use a handheld gimbal as well. So there really hasn't been a lot of use for this, but I'm not saying there never will be any use for this, because you can still get some really, really nice results. Now when I actually use this, I never sort of you know, get the slider and push it with my hand. I always use a piece of string. So what I would do is, if I just pick this up and put it on the desk, you can see how humongous this thing is. What I would do is I would set it up the shot the way I want. By the way, everything on here has bubble meters on it, so it's all great for leveling out your shots, so on and so on. And I will sort of like put this in position. I don't know if you can see that, and I would make sure it's level. But what I would do is make sure this is as sort of loose as possible, because these can get stiff. So basically, before I actually start filming this, what I would do is get a cloth and some fairy liquid or any sort of washing thing, and I'll just wipe it down to make it a lot more slidey. And there's 2 things I like to do. I like to use a piece of string to sort of pull, because hand movements you still shake. Unless you're rock solid with your hand, you can still sort of shake or it's a bit juddery, shall I say. So what I like to do is put it at the start, get a piece of string, attach it, and let's basically pull the string in one go. Another quick tip what I like to do is I like to put this in position like so, okay, and now I'll put the camera on this mount, right, and this is going to sound crazy, but I've got some wicked results doing this here. This is just a tip. Hope you can see that in frame, guys. Now I'll mount the camera on top, right, and the camera's on top like that, yeah. So the camera, if I'm doing like an up and down pan, for instance, imagine the camera's on top, okay. Now obviously you're going to need to get a bit of support. Now what I do is I support this up against something with some wire ties, or what I will do is attach my tripod to it and then bend the tripod down so it screws into that bit there. So basically the tripod's screwed into this bit there, and it's holding with his legs to give it that strong stability, shall I say. And what I would do is I would undo the slider just gently, right? Now watch what happens. Now it might be a bit different because I ain't got camera on this, but if I slowly turn it, look. Now it all depends on the weight to get it right, but you can see it slides itself. Now I found for some really small drop down pans that this works. If you get this right, yeah, and undo this spot on, sorry about that, you can get some really, really good sliding effects sort of pointing downwards. But it's a bit finicky. I mean, it's like using a stabilizer, you know, a hand gimbal stabilizer with no motors. You sort of got to get it right. But if you get it right, obviously giving it some support as well at the same time under the camera, you can achieve with the weight of the camera, and this has worked for me, some really nice sort like it's going itself. And what I'll do is I'll just support it with my hand like that, and you can get some really awesome downward slider shots, should I say. So that's a little quick sort of very rough little tip for you guys if you're using sliders. But like I said, guys, this is just to show you my film gear. Obviously we're not doing any filming, anything like that. So like I've just said, this will build up to the final episode where we're going to be looking at the Blackmagic Cinema camera. We're going to be looking at the lenses, and then we're going to be looking at camera rigs, tripods, and then basically on the final episode it's going to be like a 2-hour video where we're going to be putting the entire rig together with audio, lenses, you name it. We're going to be putting the whole thing together, and then we're going to be experimenting with various shots. So that's going to be a really exciting video to look forward to. This is what this series is building up to, so I hope you're looking forward to that as much as I am looking forward to filming them. So as always, guys, if you have enjoyed this little slider video, a like rating would definitely be appreciated. And as always, I'll definitely catch you in the next episode of my film gear. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Ciao, ciao.